What's going on, everybody? Derek J407 back to you once again to give you my thoughts on the WWE Royal Rumble 2019 live from Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. The first ever Royal Rumble event to be held in a baseball stadium. Had a very unique stage setup. Superstars came from the dugout. There was no big Titantron and some huge stage setup for it. It was very unique and very different, which is all I can ask for a lot of these shows, especially the big ones like the Rumble and SummerSlam and WrestleMania always has it, but it was definitely nice to see something different for a change. And so yeah, that's my thoughts. As far as that's concerned, they announced an attendance of 48,193. So whether that's real or not, it's still quite a few people. It looked jam-packed. Not sure if it was sold out or not, but it did look like a pretty packed stadium. And overall, the people, I think, were treated to a pretty good show. I enjoyed it overall. Not the best Rumble, and since this is the second year in a row they've done 2 Rumble matches, I think last year was much better. Although I think what this year has over last year is that the non-Rumble matches, like the non-Battle Royal matches, were a lot better this year than they were last year. So in terms of that, that's good. The 2 Rumble matches weren't bad. The women's kind of dragged a little bit, and the men's started off kind of dragging, but I think they did a pretty good job of incorporating enough guys. Something that I noticed that a lot of you picked up on was there weren't a whole lot of legends, especially in the women's Rumble. The women were kind of more reliant on NXT, Mae Young Classic, NXT UK stars, rather than, legends and all that kind of stuff. And the men's, they kind of did the legends a little earlier, I won't get into it all right now, but still the overall quality of the Rumbles were just a little slow for a while, but the endings were all really, really strong. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Start off with the kickoff. This isn't really worth my time, especially this first match on the kickoff, the Raw Tag Team Championships. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable defending against the makeshift team of Scott Dawson from The Revival and Razor from the Authors of Pain, or AOP. Akam, I guess, his name is, the other member of the AOP, he is out hurt, and for whatever reason they wanted this match on the show, and for whatever reason they chose Scott Dawson. It doesn't matter. They lost with the moonsault neckbreaker combo from Roode and Gable. The Raw Tag Team division doesn't mean anything, and it's whatever. Also had the United States Championship on the line. Rusev defending against Nakamura. Lana tried to prevent Nakamura from cheating, I should say. He was trying to undo the turnbuckle pad, and she was trying to stop that. She was on the apron, and when Nakamura got in her face, Rusev came charging at Nakamura, but accidentally Nakamura moved, and Rusev accidentally charged at Lana and knocked her off, and ended up injuring her ankle. And as Rusev was crouched down on his knee looking over at Lana, Rusev came from behind and gave him the Kinshasa to get the title back. Not sure why he got it back, but it is what it is. And the Cruiserweight Championship match was on the pre-show. A fatal 4-way match. Buddy Murphy defending against Hideo Itami, Akira Tozawa, and Kalisto. A lot of fun, high-paced moves in this match. One really cool thing was Hideo Itami was on the ropes. He just held the ropes open, and through the ropes was Akira Tozawa. He came diving through, and he ran into Kalisto, who was on Buddy Murphy's shoulders, but in doing so, Kalisto ended up giving a Hurricane Rana to Buddy Murphy, so I thought that was pretty cool. But in the end, it was Murphy who hit Murphy's Law on Hideo Itami to get the win and retain his championship. And another big thing to mention from the pre-show, they did talk about it later on the main show, but they did announce it here, that after the events that took place after TakeOver the previous night with all 6 guys from the main event, after the Tommaso Ciampa Aleister Black match, after the show, Velveteen Dream came out, Adam Cole and Black and Ricochet all got involved. So they announced that next week during the big game, not sure if we're allowed to say it or not, but I'll just go ahead and say it, the big game, during halftime, it's going to be the return of Halftime Heat, The first halftime heat was 20 years ago between The Rock and Mankind in an empty arena match for the WWF title. One of my personal favorite matches. So we're getting it again. Halftime heat next week. The team of Velveteen Dream, Aleister Black, and Ricochet against Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, and Adam Cole. It's going to be on the network, on YouTube, on .com, on Twitter. So instead of watching Maroon 5, watch that. So that pretty much covers all the pre-show stuff. First match of the actual pay-per-view was Asuka defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Becky Lynch. Pretty good match here to open the show. These two show they have really good chemistry. There was a battle of submissions between the two of them with the disarm her and Asuka's own armbar and her Asuka lock and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of really good stuff in this match. But the finish saw Asuka lock in the Asuka lock, and when Becky was trying to roll out of it, Asuka kind of rolled through and turned it into like a reverse or inverse, whatever you want to call it, last chancery that Becky tapped out to. So Becky taps clean to Asuka. Not a big fan of her tapping out clean to Asuka here, but you knew it was gonna make sense in the end, and it did, as we saw later on in the night. But at least initially, I still honestly don't really like it all that much. Becky shouldn't be tapping. Honestly, you could have just had her pass out, in my opinion. But I know they did that with Bianca Belair at the TakeOver show the previous night, but I don't care. I don't think they care either. But it is what it is. Asuka is still the champion, and I assume she'll be heading into WrestleMania as champion, although there still is Elimination Chamber and Fastlane before WrestleMania, so we'll see. But all roads point to Asuka being the champion heading into WrestleMania. Up next after that, the SmackDown Tag Team titles were on the line. The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro taking on The Miz and Shane McMahon. Of course, Miz's dad was at ringside. He's been the focal point as to why Miz and Shane have become a tag team. And going into this match, I think it was pretty much a foregone conclusion to everybody that Shane and Miz would get the win, and that's basically what happened. In the match, at one point, Shane had both Cesaro and Sheamus propped up in the corner, seated in front of one another. He was going for the coast to coast on both of them, but when he dove off, Cesaro caught him in midair and then gave him a swing, and gave him a long swing. So I thought it was really cool. The fans popped for it, all that kind of stuff. But the finish came where Cesaro was holding up Shane for Sheamus to come in and give him the bro kick. And when Sheamus went for the bro kick, Miz came in, pushed Shane out of the way, and basically pushed Cesaro in the way. And Sheamus collided with Cesaro with the bro kick. They dump Sheamus out of the ring, and then Shane goes up to hit a shooting star press on Cesaro to get the 1, 2, 3. So Shane McMahon and The Miz are now SmackDown Tag Team Champions. They celebrated with Miz's dad at ringside afterwards. Good moment. Good pop from the crowd, but you know this is leading to somewhere. Don't know who's turning on who, but you know it's coming, and we're getting some kind of singles match between these two at WrestleMania, so yeah. But fun here, a fun little match, and a nice little pop for Miz and Shane winning, but you know it's not going to last. You know they're probably going to lose those titles either right before or at WrestleMania, but I think it'll probably be before it so they can have their match at WrestleMania. But I guess we'll see. Then the Raw Women's Championship match was up next. Ronda Rousey defending against Sasha Banks. Early on, Sasha ducked a forearm from Ronda on the outside, and when she ducked, Ronda accidentally forearmed the steel post, so she was kind of selling an arm injury. Sasha was, giving it to her. She had her own unique submissions. She had this one arm bar on Ronda, which looked absolutely sick. So she impressed quite a bit, but Ronda, of course, she's really good. Why people are so resistant to accept that, I don't know, but she is very good, and she showed that off at many points in this match. At one point, Sasha dove through the ropes and when Ronda was on the outside, and when Sasha came through, Ronda caught her in midair and then put her down and locked her in the armbar on the outside. But it was later on in the match, Sasha gets the bank statement on Ronda, and then Ronda reverses it into the Fujiwara armbar. Oh, I'm sorry, I think it was Sasha who had the Fujiwara armbar on. But either way, Ronda powered out. She hit a gut wrench and then hit her Piper's Pit move and got the pin. So I think this is probably the first time I've seen Ronda pin someone to win a match. But yeah, she gets the win. After the match, her and Sasha kind of look at each other. They kind of not really shake hands, but they kind of, gain mutual respect and that kind of stuff. Sasha goes to leave, but she kind of stops right near the entranceway. So Ronda's going around, she kisses her husband at ringside, and then she comes around to where Sasha's at, and it looks like, they're still shaking hands and all that kind of stuff, but then Sasha's face turns, back to evil bitch boss Sasha, and she flashes the 4 horsewomen sign. So clearly a foreshadowing of what will come in the future. So very, very interesting stuff there. Really good match. I think I enjoyed this match a little bit better than the Becky Asuka match, but both were really good. But this one just edged it out just a little bit for me. Then up next, the first of the 2 Rumble matches. First was the women. The first 2 entrants were Lacey Evans, who we seen from NXT, making her debut, and Natalya was number 2. So the 2 of them started out. And just going through the entrance, Mandy Rose was number 3. She lasted quite a while before, we'll get to her elimination spot a little bit later. Liv Morgan was at number 4. She got dumped out within seconds by Natalya. 5 was Ember Moon. 5 was Mickie James, and 6 was Ember Moon. She had a really nice exchange with Alexa Bliss towards the end of the match. Billie Kay was at number 7. She never entered the ring. She was waiting for Peyton Royce to come out there. She was all around ringside telling the referees and commentators that she's waiting for Peyton Royce. So then at number 8 came Nikki Cross. She attacked Billie Kay right in the entranceway. And then at number 9, Peyton Royce finally came out. And while in there, she and Billie ended up eliminating Nikki Cross. So I don't know if that's a foreshadow of something. A feud for Nikki Cross if they put her on SmackDown. Not sure, but that was that. Number 10, we had Tamina. 11, Xia Li. We saw her compete in the Mae Young Classic this year for sure. I don't remember her competing last year, but she did compete in this past, at least 2018, I should say. I don't know if she competed in the 2017 NYC, but she did compete in the 2018. So she was out there, had a pretty impressive showing for herself. Number 12, we had Sarah Logan. Number 13, Charlotte Flair. And she played a big role in this match. At number 14, we had Kairi Sane. She tangled with Charlotte for a little bit. The two of them had a little chop fest going on for a while there, and it made me think, this is a match I actually want to see. I wouldn't mind seeing this match at some point. And, of course, she delivered her picture-perfect elbow drop on Sarah Logan later on in the match. Maria Kanellis, who has been in the news recently for being rumored to be requesting a release with her and, of course, Mike Kanellis, her husband. At number 16, we had Naomi. So this is what I was talking about earlier. So, Naomi ended up eliminating Mandy Rose. Of course, they've been having this back and forth for the past few weeks. So when she did that, Naomi was still in the apron, and Mandy kind of got her up and put her in a powerbomb position and attempted to powerbomb her, but in doing so, she ended up failing, and Naomi found herself on the security wall. So she had to get back to the ring somehow, so she climbed the wall, and she jumped from the wall onto the steel steps. So she was still in the match. Her feet didn't hit the floor yet. But then at that point, Mandy Rose was still out there, and she knocked Naomi right off the steps and eliminated her. The two of them started a brawl, and that was the end of both of them. Candice LeRae was number 17. Alicia Fox was number 18 and did some weird thing with her hat. And Maria and her throwing a temper tantrum when her hat hit the ring or the ground. Whatever. Stupid. Casey Catanzaro, another Mae Young Classic competitor. She had a really good avoid elimination spot. She got knocked out, and while she was down, her back was down, but her feet never hit the floor. So she just kind of put her feet up on the barricade, and off the barricade she did a handstand, and she got herself in position to wrap her legs around the steel post, and then with her full body weight, upper body strength, she pulled herself up and climbed up the pole. And boy, that sounds very different out of context, but she climbs up the pole and gets back in the ring. So if you remember her from the Mae Young Classics, she is very athletic. She was on not American Gladiators, or one of those kinds of athletic shows. So she's very athletic, and so yeah, that was that. Zelina Vega was number 20. She had a brief face-off with Candice LeRae, and then eventually she hid under the ring. And while under there, Hornswoggle, for some reason, came out. He showed himself. He started to chase after her like a little pervert, and then when she ended up getting back in the ring, she got eliminated by someone who came out a little bit later. I believe it was Rhea Ripley. And then when she was eliminated, Hornswoggle just continued to chase after her. So, very bizarre. Ruby Riott came out, and the Riot Squad came back out with her. They were beating up people. They they powerbombed Candice LeRae on the security wall, causing all kinds of hell. Number 22 was Dana Brooke, and number 23, it was Io Shirai to make the save when the Riot Squad were beating down Kairi Sane. She ended up hitting her moonsault from the ring, from the top turnbuckle all the way to the floor. But she had not officially entered the Rumble yet, so that did not count as an elimination. So she got back in the ring, and she was not eliminated yet. Number 24 was Rhea Ripley, like I mentioned earlier. That's another person who I would love to see Charlotte face at some point. So that's a match I am dying to see. Sonya Deville was at number 25. And number 26 was Alexa Bliss. Came out to a huge pop. Bayley was at number 27. She was the one who eliminated Ruby Riott and Rhea Ripley. 28 was Lana. She came out, her music played, but she looked very, very bad. She she was pretty beat up, to say the least, because she was limping and all that kind of stuff, so it didn't look particularly good. The doctors, they came out, they tried to help her out. They were looking at her right in the entranceway. And at number 29, out came Nia Jax, and she beat down Lana, try to go after her leg again. And then, of course, at number 30 was Carmella, by virtue of winning the mixed match challenge last year. So then everyone's in the ring, and everyone's kind of just waiting, because Lana hadn't officially entered yet, so they were all waiting, and out came Becky Lynch. She was pleading her case to Fit Finlay, who was out there, pleading her case to him to let her take Lana's spot since she was so hurt and get in the Rumble match. He obliged. I guess he has the authority to do it because Becky ended up entering the Rumble. So the crowd popped huge. They played her music. The crowd was firmly into it. They weren't into a whole lot of stuff that was happening in this match, but by this point, they were definitely into it. So these final moments of the match were very, very exciting for the people here. Charlotte, she booted out Carmella, and then she eventually eliminated Bayley. It was Bayley who was on Nia Jax's shoulders, and then when she booted Nia in the face, it kind of knocked Bayley off of her shoulders and out over the top, out of the ring. So Bayley was gone. So it came down to Becky, Charlotte, and Nia. Becky got thrown outside through the ropes, not over them. So it was Charlotte and Nia for a little bit. And Nia found her way over the top rope onto the ring apron, and at that point, Becky, who was still outside, knocked her off, so eliminated her. There was this long stare down between Charlotte inside of the ring and Becky on the outside of the ring, and it led to Becky walking up the steps, and when she did, Nia shoved her off, and Becky sold a leg injury as she went down, so she got heat for that. And she was down for a good amount of time. It was a question of whether she would be able to continue, and she fought through the pain and got in the ring. Charlotte immediately went for her leg and was kind of working over that, but Becky did eventually start to fight back, and down the stretch, the fans were really into it. They didn't know where it was going to go, but it ended up with Becky dumping out Charlotte and winning the Rumble. Kudos to WWE for making the right decision by not only having Becky be in this match, but by having her win it. I know there was rumors and there was worry that they might do like a double elimination with her and Charlotte, or Charlotte might just flat out win. They didn't do that. Becky did win the Rumble. Now, do I still think there's going to be a triple threat with her, Charlotte, and Ronda at WrestleMania in the main event? You're damn right. I do think that between, like I said, there's 2 pay-per-views between now and WrestleMania. I think on one of those, or on TV or something like that, Charlotte will find her way into that match. Maybe even contest the fact that Becky wasn't, properly made a replacement in the match. So she deserves her win to be expunged from the record or some shit like that. Or that just paves the way for her to earn her opportunity into the match at WrestleMania. I'm not sure how it's going to be done, but that's what I'm thinking will happen. So I do think we're still going to get a triple threat. But I really hope not. I really hope at WrestleMania it is Becky Lynch, Royal Rumble winner, challenging champion Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's title in the main event, with Becky winning by making her tap out to disarm her, and going off the air with Becky Lynch as the champion, heading into Raw as the man on Monday Night Raw. That's just my hope. That's what I want to happen, and hopefully that's what happens. So I think it will happen. No, I think we're going to get a triple threat. Could Becky still win that triple threat, and would the match be good? Yes, but I just prefer one-on-one. So up next was the WWE title match, Daniel Bryan defending against AJ Styles. They tried, oh boy, they tried to wrestle a really good match, but the fans just did not get into it at all. There was no real point where the fans, collectively at least, were really into the match. They were pretty dead for a good chunk of it. AJ ended up getting a bloody nose at one point. Bryan sold a knee injury, so there was something for both of them. There was a handicap for both of them, but the fans, there was pockets of fans occasionally that would get into it, either for AJ or booing Bryan, but this came right after that Rumble match, and especially those last few minutes, that killed the crowd dead for a little bit there, man. It really took a lot for him to come back up, and it's sad because there really was no other match before it that really could have been in that spot. Would you want to? So it's very confusing, but that's the risk you take when you have 2 Rumble matches in one night. I'm not saying not do it. It makes sense to do it, but I don't know. There's just gotta be an easier way to do it. I don't know, but these guys suffered for it. So at one point, AJ hit a brain buster on Daniel Bryan, so I thought that was weird that Bryan was taking a brain buster. But regardless, both men are down, and out of nowhere, in the entranceway, we see walking towards the ring Erick Rowan, former Wyatt family and Bludgeon Brother member Erick Rowan, in street clothes. This is the first time we haven't seen him in some kind of janitor's outfit or some crazy gear like he was with the Bludgeons. He just came out with a regular flannel shirt and jeans, just like what you would expect Daniel Bryan to wear. So AJ has Bryan on the ropes, and Bryan connects with a enziguri kick, but AJ kind of ducked, so he accidentally hit the referee. So the referee was down temporarily, and that led to Erick Rowan getting in the ring and grabbing AJ by the face, lifting him up, and basically giving him a face slam instead of a choke slam, a face slam. Planted him right in the ring, and then got out. Bryan covers him, gets the 1-2-3. Bryan is still the champion. Afterwards, Rowan that is, holds up AJ for Bryan to deliver the running knee. So it is clear. Bryan and Rowan are now a pair. They are a unit. They are a tandem. Rowan is his bodyguard. Okay, I guess it's something for Rowan to do. And I guess it's another way for Bryan to get heat, having a bodyguard by his side. And I floated this idea. What if we see Luke Harper return as well, and he joins up with Daniel Bryan, and then at some point, either within the next 2 pay-per-views or SmackDown or whatever, we see the return of Bray Wyatt. We have not seen him since Matt Hardy effectively retired last year, so he's been MIA for a very long time. So we will see Bray Wyatt return as a SmackDown star and challenges Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania, with Bryan having Harper and Rowan in his corner. I think that would be very interesting. Is that a match I'm thrilled about? Not really, but, it's up to them to tell a good story, and I think there is a good story to be told there. I think that John Cena will be the one to challenge Daniel Bryan for the title, and I think there's a good story there too. But, yeah. It's very interesting to see Bryan and Rowan, so we'll see how that turns out. Up next was the Universal Championship match, the late change to this. Oh, and by the way, with the previous WWE title match, before I forget, it is very interesting that for the 4th year in a row, AJ Styles competed in a WWE Championship match at the Royal Rumble. All 4 years he's been in the company, and he's competed at the Rumble, has been in a WWE Championship match. So, very cool for him. Anyway, Universal title match is up next. Brock Lesnar taking on the late edition change of an opponent for him, Finn Balor. I do think this match is much better than another match with Braun Strowman would have been, but I was a little disappointed. Now, it started off strong, like right as the bell rang, Brock had his back turned, and when he turned around, Finn came right after him. He just started a fight and was throwing kicks and all that kind of stuff at him, so he was right on Brock from the get-go. But, eventually, Brock caught him and gave him a belly-to-belly suplex. So, didn't last for long. They went to the outside, and Brock was carrying Finn to do something to him, but Finn ended up shoving Brock midsection first into the corner of the announce table. So, like the edge of the announce table, Brock went right into it. And we know his history with diverticulitis and all that kind of stuff, so very scary there for a little bit. And Brock was selling that for a while. He tried to do Suplex City, but then after a while, it started to catch up to him. He started to sell that, and he got Balor up for an F5, but Finn countered that and basically to a DDT. Then he got Brock on the outside, hit a bunch of flip dives, got him back in the ring, landed the coup de grace, but it was only good for a 2 count. And at that point, Brock turned it into the Kimura lock, started cinching in. You saw the crazed eyes and on Brock, and while he was locking it in, and Finn ended up tapping out. So Brock retains. And after the match, he gave Finn a bunch of German suplexes, that is, and hit him with an F5. So got more heat on himself. So the whole thing going in this match was, do you believe in Finn Balor? And I don't think a whole lot of people did, but I do believe that he looked strong in this match, and even in defeat, he injured Brock, so that's something. And the commentators were telling the story that, Brock was attacking him afterwards because he got mad, because he got hurt, because Finn took him to his limit, despite how short the match was. But, yeah, I don't think it was, anyway, especially when Finn went on ESPN and said that he wasn't going to be the demon. I think it was pretty clear he was not winning this match. So, I think it's pretty clear who Brock will be facing at WrestleMania, especially after this next match, the men's Royal Rumble match. So, pretty much all tired out. The show was going on way too long at this point. The WWE title match didn't even start till like 10 o'clock. So at this point, you knew it was going over. So it was going to be a 7-hour show. Oh joy. But, yeah, it's like, okay, ready for the Rumble. Who's the first person? Elias. I love Elias. I'm glad the fans are into him. I'm glad he's a babyface and all that kind of stuff. But he was cutting a promo and teasing a concert and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, bro, this show is going on way too damn long. I don't got time for this. So I'm like, get number 2 out here so we can just start that. Out at number 2 was Hall of Famer Jeff Jarrett. He was doing his whole JEFF, all that kind of stuff, spelling his name out the way he used to, doing his strut and all that crap. But eventually Elias hit him, and then hit him with a guitar, and then eliminated him. So we were through with that pretty quickly. At number 3 was Shinsuke Nakamura. At number 4 was Kurt Angle returning. He eventually got eliminated by Nakamura, and that made me think, Nakamura and Kurt Angle for the US title at WrestleMania could be interesting. But, my opinion changed to something else a little bit later. Number 5 was Big E. Number 6 was new North American champion, Johnny Gargano. So he came out there, had a pretty impressive showing for himself, lasted a while. Number 7 was Jinder Mahal, who got super kicked out by Johnny Gargano to get eliminated within a few seconds. And then the Singh brothers were both attacked by Elias and Big E. Big E shoved pancakes in one of their mouths and eliminated, and didn't even eliminate him, just threw him out. Number 8 was Samoa Joe, who lasted quite a while. Kurt Hawkins came in at number 9. He was trying to run in and out of the ring and all that kind of stuff. He ended up being locked in the coquina clutch and got knocked through the ropes. So he wasn't eliminated yet. He was hiding under the ring for a while, and that came into play a little bit later. Number 10 was Seth Rollins, so that's a big deal. Number 11 was Titus O'Neil. They were teasing he was going to do a repeat of what happened in the Greatest Royal Rumble, but when he ran down and got right to the ring, he stopped for a second, and Kurt Hawkins kind of peeked his head out from under the ring. Titus O'Neil went under there after him. They ended up on the other side. Both men ended up getting in the ring, and Kurt Hawkins pulled the ropes down so Titus O'Neil could spill over. So basically, Kurt Hawkins eliminated Titus O'Neil, and then promptly got eliminated by Samoa Joe. So that was that. Kofi Kingston was at number 12. He had his spot a little bit later. Mustafa Ali came in at number 13. He eliminated Nakamura, and that made me think, maybe not Nakamura and Kurt Angle, maybe Nakamura and Mustafa Ali could be a US title match at WrestleMania. That could be cool. And then later on, he was the one to eliminate Samoa Joe. So whatever beef is going on between them, I'm sure it's going to lead to either a singles match at the next pay-per-view, or both of them will be in a chamber match or something like that. Number 14 was Dean Ambrose. He participated in the spot with Kofi Kingston. He knocked Kofi Kingston off of the ring apron, but when Kofi landed, only one foot hit the ground. It looked like both did, but it was only one. And so Kofi was on the ground, his back was, and then his feet were up on the ring apron. So Kofi kind of rolled himself over with his feet still in the apron, and he rolled himself over to the steel steps. So I thought that was really cool. And then later on, there was a spot with Xavier Woods, and he was basically carrying Kofi in a way. They both got back in the ring and ended up getting dumped out by Drew McIntyre. Speaking of which, almost there, I should say. No Way Jose was at number 15. Waste of a spot. He got eliminated in a second by Samoa Joe. And then at number 16, it was Drew McIntyre, who attacked him, Jose, that is, in the entranceway. I mentioned Xavier Woods and what happened with him. Pete Dunne was number 18. Good to see the bruiserweight. Number 19 was Andrade. Cien Almas. I'm not ready to cut off his name like WWE did. Number 20 was Apollo Crews. And number 21 was Aleister Black. And that was, I think, the last NXT surprise. I'm very upset that we didn't get to see Velveteen Dream come out, but it's cool to see Aleister Black. I'm assuming he's going to be on the main roster any day now. This might have been his official debut here. Who knows? And he was the one to eliminate Dean Ambrose. So I don't know if that's a foreshadow for anything. Number 22 was Shelton Benjamin. Number 23 was Baron Corbin, who eliminated Aleister Black. Just Corbin ruins everything, I swear. Almost threw up right there when that happened. Jeff Hardy was at number 24. Number 25 was Rey Mysterio. 26 was new Intercontinental Champion Bobby Lashley, who got eliminated by Seth Rollins pretty quickly and blew a gasket afterwards and ended up putting Rollins and slamming him through, I think it was the German announce table, but he put him through an announce table, so that took Seth out of the match for a while. Number 27 was Braun Strowman. Number 28, I should say, was Dolph Ziggler, who eliminated Drew McIntyre, so clearly whatever is going on between the two of them is not over. Number 29 was Randy Orton, who had a brief face-off with Braun Strowman. Thought that was interesting. At one point, there was a point in this match where Braun had Andrade on his shoulders, and Andrade had Mustafa Ali in position for a suplex, and then Ray comes off the top rope and collides with all of them, and they all come crashing down. Thought that was a really cool spot. Number 30 was supposed to be R-Truth, but he ended up getting attacked by Nia Jax, who took his spot. And then Nia Jax was in there. She was beating down people. The fourth woman to appear in a Rumble match. She was beating down people. Of course, these days in WWE, you can't fight back against the women. So she was beating people down and all that kind of stuff. And she ended up eliminating Mustafa Ali. And then right behind her was Randy Orton. And the two of them had a face-off. The fans were going crazy for it. And then, much to my shock, Rey Mysterio, well, she knocked Randy into a position to get an RKO. A 619 from Randy. And then when Rey went to go hit the 619, she had Rey up on her shoulders, presumably for a Samoan drop. And out of nowhere, Dolph Ziggler comes in and gives her a super kick. Crowd popped for it. Super kicked her right onto the ropes. So Rey hit her with a 619. Popped even bigger, and she turns around and gets laid out with an RKO. Place lost it, and I almost lost it too. I'm like, this woman got super kicked, 619, and RKO'd, all one after the other, and this is a woman taking these moves from men. Not only was it one, it was three men who beat this woman down in 2019. I couldn't believe it. And I think it was Randy and Ray who both dumped her out and eliminated her. So I was shocked. Couldn't believe what I saw there. That was very interesting to see Nia taking those moves from the men. But hey, she was in there, right? Orton ended up eliminating Rey Mysterio. Andrade took out Randy. So all of them were out. So it came down to Dolph Ziggler and Andrade for a little bit. Very odd two people to be in there, but of course they weren't alone. Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins were still there. Braun came in. He had laid out both men. Then on the other side, Seth was getting back up, and he did that running drive to make him flip upside down pretty much like he was doing to Kevin Owens all the time last year. Braun ended up tossing out Andrade and Dolph Ziggler. So it came down to Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins. Both ended up on the apron, and it looked like Braun was about to dump him out, but Seth basically shoved him into the steel post, gave him a bunch of super kicks, and then when he was crouched down on his knees, gave him another kick, and then gave him the stomp right on the apron, and that sent Braun off the apron onto the floor and gave Seth Rollins the win. So Seth Rollins is the 2019 Men's Royal Rumble match winner. Go on to WrestleMania to face the champion of his choosing, and I think, to me, it's pretty obvious who it's going to be, and that's Brock Lesnar. He's been taking pot shots at him here and there for the past few months. It's been a rumor that that's going to be the Universal title match for the last few months, so I think it's pretty obvious that that's the direction they're going in. So, overall, a very exciting Rumble match, in my opinion. A lot better than the women's, in my opinion, at least. Not sure if that's the overall opinion of most people. To me, the show, top to bottom, was good. I wouldn't say great or anything like that. If I had to rate it, maybe 7 out of 10, maybe. I don't know. Way too long. It suffered a WrestleMania problem by being way too long, but I still enjoyed it overall. So, yeah, that's about it. I guess next time I talk to you guys will be Elimination Chamber, then Fastlane, then TakeOver, and then WrestleMania. So, till then, I guess I'll talk to all y'all later.